Happy Juneteenth and welcome to Juneteenth and Divine Nine. I'm Rodney Dawson, Curator of Education with the Greensboro History Museum. The Divine Nine, a name that has gained recent popularity with one of its members occupying the White House. I'm referring to a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which was founded in 1908, and she's the current Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. Some might be surprised to know how many notable people belong to the Divine Nine. You have Martin Luther King Jr., Coretta Scott King, Jesse Jackson, Zora Neale Hurston, Shirley Chisholm, Hattie McDaniel, Johnny Cochran, Emmett Smith, Congressman Bobby Rush, and local favorites like Justice Henry Fry, Shirley Fry, James B. Dudley, recognize that name, Dudley Panthers, and former Councilwoman Katie Dorsett, Greensboro's first African-American mayor, Yvonne Johnson, and Swan Middle School. You're named after Mel Swan Jr. He's a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, founded in 1911. There are too many to name locally and nationally, but today we'll learn just a little bit more as we talk to local Triad Chapter representatives of the Divine Nine. So sit back and tell a friend to check it out. This is Juneteenth and Divine Nine.
The National Pan-Hellenic Council is comprised of the Divine Nine. So you have all historically Black Greek letter organizations. But here in Guilford County, we actually have 13 chapters that make up the Guilford County Pan-Hellenic Council, and that will span from Greensboro to High Point. So we have 3 AKA chapters, we have 2 Zeta chapters, 2 Delta chapters, 2 Omega chapters, and then Sigmas, Sigma Gamma Rho, Kappas, trying to make sure I'm not forgetting my Alphas. It's all one chapter that kind of services both High Point and Greensboro.
So what I really got from being in a Black Greek organization is that it is different than most other social organizations for reasons like the lifetime commitment and things of that nature. But when it comes to the idea of improving oneself in order to improve the community at large, I find that Black Greek organizations kind of specialize in that particular activity.
Thing that we've been fighting for decades, and that's a whole part of why the Pan-Hell came to be in existence, because we were not able to be a part of the white Greek lettered organizations. The 9 organization, well, it was 8 and now it's 9, formed that alliance. So being in a Black lettered organization, it's a special thing.
The Black Greek D9 organization is a lifelong commitment. With college chapters, you have grad advisors, and these advisors are in graduate chapters. So for example, for Neuro on UNCG's campus, BIO, Beta Iota Omega, is our grad chapter that oversees us. There are multiple women who are in the organization of BIO or that chapter, and what happens is when you graduate, since you're a lifelong member, you need to start looking for those chapters, looking what you want to do, because it's important to stay connected. So I recently was on a call with BIO, and you have new members of that chapter who recently just graduated, and you have women who have been in there and they're 65 now. So
105.
100, oh, she just turned 105 too. So it's important to see that and realize that these women are not going to give up on giving back to their communities, giving back to students like us, and pouring into us and helping us. They always say, we want to make sure that you guys are okay, make sure that you guys are mentally okay, physically okay, and they always push that lifelong membership because it's important, and especially in this day and age with a lot of things that are kind of, against Black students, Black people in the corporate world. It's important to have that type of foundation.
It is a lifetime commitment, and I'm also a life member, which we purchased a life membership as well. So, and in all my years, I've never not been financial. So, it is a life commitment.
And so I've been a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated for 25 years now, and I knew from a little girl that this is what I wanted to do. I had influential women in my life who were Deltas, and I saw how they lived in such a way and their commitment to community service and scholarship. And so I always knew that was something that I wanted to be a part of. And I'm continuing that lifelong commitment through community service, and I currently work in education and also participate in the activities and projects that my current chapter is a part of, and I'm also passing that on to my daughter.
Community conscious, action-oriented organization, and so that alone, you know, you have a group of people supporting you and rooting for you throughout everything. And so, like she was mentioning, you're graduating after undergrad, you're going to have to find that grad chapter, and you know, wherever you go, you're going to have that community, those group of people, the group of women looking for you and rooting for you. Because as we know, things are not set up for us all the time, but that's what your fraternity and your sorority is for, is bringing us together, knowing that people are rooting for you. Like my soror said, I have my sister's back.
I feel the same way. I feel like the lifelong commitment to the organization is definitely important. A lot of times when people are joining organizations, they may feel like it just may change their undergraduate experience, but like just going through and joining different organizations, I really realized the importance of what Amani said, just giving back to the organization and being in a position to where, like Marguerite said, you can just leverage all your brothers and sisters. So not just in your specific organization, but all Greek organizations, I feel like. So just seeing, you know, the community that we have and the network that we built within each other is crazy for us. So I'm just appreciative just to be a part of something bigger than myself.
As you see, it takes a lifelong commitment. The Divine Nine has become almost a culture unto itself, with chapters spanning the globe, but plenty here in Guilford County. And Guilford County natives who joined Divine Nine organizations have helped shape our society to this day, because service is essential to each organization. I mentioned the many public servants that have served as councilmen and women, mayor, educators. You can go to any school and you'll find someone representing the D9. So it made sense to ask our participants about how the Divine Nine contributes to social justice causes.
With the social injustices going on locally and even nationally, it's important that the Delta Sigma Sigma chapter, we have engaged as much as possible through social platforms, having panel discussions, participating in panel discussions through other D9 organizations, even from our national platform, making sure that we are engaged with politicians, legislation, making sure that we are in the know of what the movement is. For example, even the census, how important that is for social action. And when we do see those injustices, whether they're local or across the country, we do take a stand from a national perspective. So we follow that lead.
It plays a role not just in the local level, but at our national level. Social justice has played a role, because even though you had the passage of legislation going back to the Emancipation Proclamation, to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and subsequent legal acts, attitudes are what has to change. And so it's important as women of Alpha Kappa Alpha that we continue to raise awareness not only to equality, to call out injustices as we have them in our community, and also to get out there and to be involved. It's more than just watching a TV. It means active activism. When you talk about it, you think about Juneteenth, for example, it was more than freedom. You have to also work to protect those rights that come with the freedom. There are people who died and gave their livelihood so that we could vote, so that we could sit in the same classrooms, so that we could live where we wanted to live. And so we owe it to ourselves to continue to perpetuate and make sure that generations to come have access to those same rights and privileges that every American should have, regardless of gender or color.
I was saying, when you think about our organization, Make Self Opportunity Incorporated, you got to think about, those that came before us, like Brother Jesse Jackson. But you also got to think about, like, the cardinal principles. One of them is perseverance. And when you think about social justice, you see it's a continuous fight. It's not something that you just see back in the day in the 60s. It's not something that you just see in the 80s or the 70s. We're fighting it literally every year. Last year, I'm out there marching just like my ancestors was. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to keep on keeping on. Like, we can't stop. This fight not over. Just because, somebody got convicted of one murder, you know what I'm saying? I have a target on my back just like he did. I was just another man who wasn't in the right place at the right time. But we have to keep going and we have to keep persevering and, use our organization as a platform to continue to get our community together on these issues, because the fight not over. It's far from over. But, if we keep coming together as a people, you know what I'm saying? We have people like Kamala Harris in the White House. We have people out here voting. We have mandated programs like with the NAACP and our voter registration, out here doing things like that. So if we just keep on persevering, a change will come.
I can't think about social justice without thinking about the founders of Delta Sigma Theta who participated in the Women's Suffrage March in 1913 and how that legacy continues on to this day. Greensboro Alumni has a very, very active social action committee. So we are participating and partnering with other organizations, rallies, forums, workshops, seminars, showing our support, fighting for advocacy, Delta Days at the General Assembly. We just finished Delta Days at the nation's capital. So fighting for justice and fighting for equity for all. So that's always been at the forefront of what we do.
Think about some of the strides that some of our former members have made in the past, such as Ralph Abernathy was one that always kind of stood out to me. I learned about who he was before I found out he was a new. The things he did with Martin Luther King, with the SNCC, I believe it is.
SN Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee.
Yeah. Strides they made and things that they did to, get our people things that we needed back then, and even how a lot of those things still, are being done today.
This next topic kind of took me by surprise. It elicited emotion when I asked many of the participants about it. I'm talking about the singing of the hymn for each D9 organization. Originally, I thought this would only be a blip in this documentary, but surprisingly, we ended up devoting more time to it because I saw how much it meant to everyone. It made me appreciate my hymn even the more.
As corny as this may sound, man, when I'm singing it, the founders are right beside me. They're right beside me because, with ours, the founders of our wondrous band, in numbers though were three. So it's, the three of them, and I think about what was it like for a person of color, a black man, in 1914. I think about that, and I think about just Jim Crowism and just all of the things that we have overcome, and all of us are still standing. There are 9 Greek-lettered organizations in the Panhandle. We're still standing from.
But I think it's more or less just a feeling of us, and there's not a whole lot. We might not be a lot of great singers within it, but it's just everybody coming together to sing the song and feeling that pride. Looking around, you better not mess it up.
Especially if we're at a national or regional conference and you have a room of almost 10,000 sorority members. Just that I sort of get goosebumps, kind of say, just know that we're all sisters and we're forming a united front and we're holding hands. And everyone knows all of the lyrics to that hymn and we're all in sync.
Yeah, I get misty every time, and every time I sing it, I'm looking up in the sky. That's my moment. That's my moment because it's personal.
It's definitely powerful. It's like you feel it in your heart. Like you sing from your diaphragm if you are a singer, but you think about when we were laughing. I thought about ours and with the smile. Mm-hmm. The smile when we help each other, for we know there's no other, like our sisterhood. Alpha Kappa Alpha, the meaning of it, and it takes you back to the reason you wanted to be a part of the organization, why you are a part, why you serve, and why you're committed to the organization.
Yeah, so when singing the hymn, it just depends on obviously the occasion. So, if it just obviously it'll take a different tune if someone passes or, new members being initiated, things like that. But the emotions that you feel is something that I'm not able to describe. It just makes me feel closer to all my other sorors and my sisters, and brings a sense of calm and peace because, you all are singing this hymn and you know the meaning of it. So it definitely brings a calm and a sense of togetherness and collectiveness. That's what I would say.
When we sing our hymn, it is such a solemn reminder of why we became women of Alpha Kappa Alpha.
Oh my goodness. It's almost indescribable. I mean, just, the feeling that you have. We have a hymn that we sing when a soror gets married, Sweetheart Song, and it's just, you'll see tears, and it's just really emotional, and, just the feeling that you have when you sing some of those songs and hymns.
But when you sing the hymn, that's the song that every other iota has sung, from the founders all the way to now, and the song that brothers will sing as, years and years to come, so that song is just a song that everybody has sung, and it just binds you, that makes you, it's like put you in touch with all those founders that are no longer here, or all the brothers that have, passed through the years. And
for me, the hymn, whenever we're singing it, it's always like a meaningful event or something going on, whether that be your Founders Day or like she said, initiation. So I know for me, singing it, I was crying at initiation because I was just like, wow, like I'm really a member of this illustrious sisterhood, like something that like no one can take away from me.
So for each of us, I know for sure when you hear it every time, you're like, I get it. Because when I was in undergrad, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to sing. But over the years, it's like, I get it. I get why I sing this.
But to sing our hymn as one voice, regardless of chapter, regardless of whether you were in there for 50 years or 50 minutes as a member, it is overwhelming. And by the end of the ceremony, we were all moved to tears. And even talking about it and reflecting upon it, it's emotional. To be able to stand in a circle with my sorority sisters and talk about struggling through the years, to capture a vision there, it's overwhelming.
For me, it's like kind of personal, whatever I'm going through, because I went through so much to get to where I am now. I'll say it is different for me because I didn't get the chance to because I crossed in this pandemic, so I didn't really get a chance to do all that. But I would say it's meaningful because I know what me and my LBs went through to get to where we are now, and it made us closer, and also my profiles as well. It just brings us closer as a whole.
And that's what I said, especially when you have those like former music teachers in your chapter. And when I learned it was an older sorority sister who was at that piano at our Zeta Center and was like, and a 5, 6, 7. I knew I was supposed to sit up, so I think about her a lot. Absolutely. So I just think that she watching me low key when I'm singing it and making sure.
I think now you can get a better understanding of what I meant when I talked about how important the singing of the hymn can be in a member's life. It's a time to reflect. You can individualize yourself within a large group, and also put yourself in the same place that the founders found themselves when you're singing the hymn. So I thought that was a touching moment. Let's go on to something fun. Not that the hymn can't be fun, but you know how every song has a hook? The hook is designed to capture your interest and often is the most memorable part of the song, but the hook can often convey an important message. I liken this next topic to the hook, stepping. Stepping in fraternities and sororities has long been a way to convey a message, communicate, entertain, and hook an audience. Stepping has deep cultural roots as well. It lets you know that this is my organization that I've worked so hard to become a member of, and stylistically says, here we are.
To communicate. So they had to come up with other forms. And so they started beating their chest, their arms, and that's how it got started. So I mean, it's still, even today, it's a form of us communicating, it's a form of us fellowshipping, and you know, never too old to step.
And y'all communicate well.
Like they were saying, stepping is not done as much anymore. We do strolling. Usually we have a song that we all have different strolls to. So that's something we'll all be doing, like all different organizations be doing at once, but everybody's doing different motion and movement. We do that just to, you know, provide entertainment and, you know, just to have a little bit of fun. But yeah, not as much stepping around here. Even though we recently did do like a stepping video with our Madam State Director. That was something we did, but it's not done as much.
Well, I'm from Connecticut, so Divine Nine was not really introduced to me until I watched like Drumline and Stomp the Yard. I'm like, okay, what are they doing? So you have to realize, like, when you're strolling or stepping in a public setting, it might be the first time that people are gonna interact with this organization. So, you know, you wanna bring your best self, you wanna look clean, you wanna make sure that you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, and then be prideful. This is your organization. Like, you work to get here, you work to learn the information, you know, just show out basically. So.
There's much more stepping now as he did back in the day. Now there's more stroll kind of time. But I would say like the people that cross before me, like older guys, I would say they appreciate stepping a lot because that's what they were brought up on.
Stepping is basically paying homage to our organizations as a whole. Like that's something that we've been doing, you know, even I don't want to say like dating back to slavery, like that's how we communicated to each other. So that is something that we do. More modernly, we do strolling, more like social gathering. That's what we do. Just basically like paying homage to our chapters, to our founders, and just like this is what we've been doing.
But strolling is more of kind of the it's just like what it says. It's a stroll through, where stepping is more synchronized, it's more formation, but strolling, you do have the formation, but you kind of play tribute a little bit more to the other orgs in your strolling. So that's a little bit, and it's a little more less aggressive, if you will.
With Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, we hop, we don't step, but the origins for all of that, I believe you can trace it back to Africa. A lot of the tribes would have their, specific dance or tribal dance. That's a way you could recognize that certain tribe. Similar to the Divine Nine, you see the different fraternities, sororities, they may do certain acts when they're out in public that lets you know, you recognize, oh yeah, this is Omega Psi Phi. Oh yeah, this is Kappa Alpha Psi. Delta Sigma Theta Alpha Kappa, things like that. So
one way to recognize a member of Omega Psi Phi, aka Q, aka Q Dog, is to play this song, Atomic Dog by George Clinton. Play this anywhere, and you'll see the Q's hop. George Clinton, by the way, is also a member of Omega Psi Phi Incorporated. Regarding Black Greek letter organizations, we have talked about lifelong commitment, singing organizational hymns, and just now stepping. Now we'll highlight family ties. In many homes and families, Black Greek letter organizations have a major footprint. My mother, my cousins, my wife, and many in her family are D9 members, and most intend to pass the legacy on to other family members. It's a very special thing. So we'll take this last little bit of time to have our participants speak on it.
Is that a father's pride when his son, first of all, accomplishes something that means so much to him. Let's forget about the fraternities for a minute and sororities. But when a parent sees a child accomplish something that they've really, really focused on and worked so hard for so long, first of all, that pride swells up so much in you that you feel like you can burst. And if it happens to be in this case, me being one of the initial, I don't want to say founders because it's kind of different, but one of the initial members of Kappa Alpha Psi at UNC Greensboro, and have my son crossing at the same chapter.
I mean, I exposed her to it slowly, but you know, for her birthday, I got her a T-shirt, and anybody A&T can appreciate that. It said Alpha Mu with the year I would think she would pledge, like spring of 2020 or 33. So, yeah, she wears it. She doesn't fully understand, but at the same time, though, I'm trying to expose her to these things to appreciate it.
My great-grandmother was initiated into the Gamma Rho Omega chapter in Jacksonville, Florida in 1945, and my mother was initiated into the Iota Lambda chapter in 1988, and I was pinned in the Alpha Phi chapter in 2020, so being able to continue a family legacy for that long was an amazing feeling. My mom actually pinned me with my great-grandmother's pen. It's something that she keeps near and dear to her heart since she is gone from us, but my mom cried. She cried and she cried and she cried, because it was something like with the pandemic, I wasn't even sure if I would be able to accomplish. So just for her to be able to see something that I had wanted for so long was an amazing feeling.
You said you really don't have the words to describe what that feeling is like. My daughter joined Delta in the same chapter where I was initiated, and that feeling of putting my pen on her that day is indescribable. It's just amazing. And to think that your children have been watching you and watching other Deltas in the community, and they want to emulate that. I mean, that's just a great sense of pride that you can't put a price tag on. So I'm very proud of that. And then I have a son who is a member of Omega Psi Phi, so my mother-in-law, charter member of Zeta Phi Beta, nephew, Kappa. We got the whole pan in the best family. So.
Juneteenth and Divine Nine. I asked the current president of the Guilford County Pan-Hellenic Council, Ashley Jones, to close us out by requesting that she make one last closing remark about how people can best support the Guilford County Pan-Hellenic Council. And appropriately, civic engagement was foremost on her mind. Makes sense, because that is one thing amongst many, but one thing the entire Divine Nine has in common: service.
I think in current times right now, my plea would be to get individuals out registered to vote and actually vote come election day. We have seen over the last few years what voting has helped us and where voting has not helped us. And in order for us, I believe, to be progressive and to go further and do better, we need to have our population, our community out there and actually voting. So I would hope that anybody that's not registered to vote would take the time to register to vote, or take somebody, especially those undergraduate students that might have just graduated high school, first year in college, they don't know anything, they're moving to a new state. Take a young person and help them get registered to vote, and then even take them to the polls on election